Good morning, scholars. Happy Monday. We are moving into our brand new unit of ELA, Animal Classification. By the end of today, we'll turn in Monday, October 5th, ELA. So on the agenda for today, we will introduce our unit and take a virtual field trip. We'll have an introduction to our spelling words at the end, and we will read Chapter 1, Introduction, Meet Rattenborough. So in our unit, we are going to be talking about zoologists, and those are scientists who are experts on animals. Zoologists study animal life and behaviors, and they classify different animals. As zoologists, we're going to research and read about different kinds of animals and how they are classified. So, if you were a zoologist, you would observe an animal that looks like this. And what might you notice? So if we're observing, we're using our senses. We, in this case, are just looking, but if we were in person, we might also listen. By looking at this animal, you can see it has stripes. You can see it has spikes on its back, a beak, and it also lives in the mountains. You can observe its environment. Based on these observations, what could you call this animal? So you might include the word stripes in your names, or spikes, or mountainous to describe where it lives. These are observations that zoologists make anytime they discover a new species. So today we are going to take a very quick virtual field trip. I want you to get out your notebooks. So right from your supply bag, grab your notebook, and you are just going to jot down a quick chart like I did. So what I already know, observation, and then the name of the two animals we're going to be looking at. So apes and elephants. Go ahead and pause the video to get something that looks like that. And as you can tell with Miss Goebel's drawing, it doesn't have to be perfect. Your lines don't have to be straight. This is just for you to take some notes. So pause the video and get your notebook looking like mine. Now that you're back, we are off on our virtual field trip. Just like you wrote on the chart, we are looking at apes, and these are actually apes from the San Diego Zoo. So this is a live camera. It looks still because the ape isn't moving right now, but what is the animal doing? That could be something you observe. I observe the animal is sitting on what looks like a stick. How would you describe the animal? Pretty stagnant. They're not moving. What about its habitat? You'll notice there are some manufactured components, so like the poles that he's sitting on, the ropes, but there are also some trees in his background. And what do you think an animal researcher might note about this animal? They might notice that he's pretty sedentary right now. That's one of his habits. He's sitting still. So make sure you take down some observations of the ape on the right side of your chart, and then maybe tell me something you already know on the left side. So maybe you already know something about apes. So now we are observing an elephant at the National Zoo. This is a Smithsonian resource. What do you observe about this animal? This is a live camera, so this is what he's doing right now. How would you describe the animal? We can actually see this elephant moving. We couldn't see the ape moving, but he's still not moving very quickly. What would you describe about its habitat? So you could see there are some enrichment items. There's a tire, a log, a ball that he could play with, and it looks like there's some water. And what might a researcher notice about this animal? They might notice its slow motion, that its trunk and tail are swaying back and forth. Take a moment and write down something you observe about this elephant, and maybe something that you already know about elephants on the left side. The activity you just participated in is something that zoologists do all the time. They observe animals, take down their notes about these observations, and this is where they track their research. So we will continue to do things like this throughout our unit. Before we start our unit today, we do need to know a few vocabulary words. The first word is carnivore, and this is an animal that eats meat. It's a carnivore. Say it. Carnivore. Our next word, herbivore. Say it. It's an herbivore. That's an animal that only eats plants, like this bunny is just eating grass. Omnivores, say it. And omnivores are animals that eat both plants and meat. Our last vocabulary word today, habitat. Say it. Habitat. And that's a place where plants and or animals live and grow. It's their habitat. We're going to look at some text features today because they are very useful for guiding you while you are reading. You will find things such as a table of contents. So this lists the chapters, overview of what texts are in the reader, where to find them. Headings, they provide important information about a topic. Bold print words, photos and captions, charts, maps, glossary, and diagrams. These are all text features, and we'll look at some of those as we read today. So throughout our reader, you will see someone named Rattenborough. You might remember Rattenborough from 2nd grade. He popped up in a few of your readers. This unit, he is going to teach us about animal classification. And with that, we're going to get started with our chapter. I already noticed some text features on this page. I see our title, our heading. I see a photo with a caption and bold words that tell me important words or vocabulary words. So let's listen to the chapter.
Rattenborough's Guide to Animals. Chapter 1. Introduction. Meet Rattenborough. Greetings! Rattenborough, the famous explorer and animal expert here. Remember me? I taught you all about animals and habitats when you were just little kids in 1st grade. I've been busy since then traveling around the world. But I'm back now to teach you everything I've learned about animals during my travels. First, let's take a quick look at what you learned in 1st grade. Do you remember what a habitat is? A habitat is the place where animals and plants live. We learned that there are different habitats all over the world with different kinds of animals and plants living there. We visited a desert habitat where it was very hot and dry. It hardly ever rains in a desert, so the plants and animals that live there have to be able to get by with very little water. I bet you remember that cactus plants live in the desert, along with snakes and lizards. We also visited an African savanna. A savanna is also called a grassland. There were lots of interesting animals living there, zebras, elephants, and even lions. To be perfectly honest, I was always a little nervous while we were in the savanna. Next, we checked out some different kinds of forests. We went to a hardwood forest full of trees with leaves that change color and drop off in the fall. We saw squirrels, deer, and even bears. We saw lots of different kinds of birds in those tall trees. Then we visited a tropical rainforest that was very hot, humid, and wet. There were lots of birds in this forest too. These birds were colorful tropical birds like toucans and parrots. Last but not least, we visited freshwater and saltwater habitats. In the freshwater habitat, we saw fish, turtles, ducks, and beavers. In the saltwater habitat of the sea, we saw starfish, crabs, lobsters, and sharks. Besides learning about habitats in 1st grade, we also studied the different kinds of things that animals eat. Do you remember talking about herbivores, carnivores, and omnivores? We learned that you can sort animals by what they eat. So, get ready, because we are going to learn a lot more about how to sort animals. Rattenborough, your personal animal expert, at your service. See you next time.
All right, we are back from Rattenborough. So what text features did we find in today's chapter? You might have noticed them as Rattenborough was reading. There was a table of contents in our book, some headings, bold print, photos with captions, diagrams. There weren't maps, but there were charts, and there was a glossary as well. Which text feature do you think is the most important? Maybe you can leave this as a comment when you turn in your assignment today. So with that, it is time to go ahead and open up your assignment. You will find it under week 5, October 5th, Monday, October 5th, ELA. Go ahead and open it up and split your screen so that you can see me on one side and your document on the other. Your first step today is to tell me, did you enjoy being an animal researcher today? Explain what you liked or disliked about being an animal researcher. So we looked at videos, we listened to Rattenborough tell a little bit about animal classification, so tell me whether or not you enjoyed it. And make sure that you are writing in your field journal in complete sentences. So complete sentences have capitals, periods or punctuation at the end, and we also check our spelling and make sure that we have a subject, who, and a verb, what. So pause at this point, fill out your field journal on your Google slide, and when you're ready, I'll be waiting. All right, so scholars, now I want you to switch to the second slide in your exit ticket for today. You will see a blank table with columns labeled root word and then 2 suffixes, ed and ing. Today, you are going to be assigned a list of spelling words. The day you receive the spelling words today is considered day 1. You're going to be tested on these words on day 5, so you'll have 5 days with these words. That makes the spelling test Friday. Each of our spelling words this week are root words, and they are verbs. We're going to add some suffixes to these verbs, but first, let's go ahead and get our spelling words down. Our first spelling word this week is hop. Go ahead and write hop in your document. Typing the word hop. Our second spelling word this week is rub. Type the word rub. Your next word is ship. Type the word ship in your document. Number 4, grab. Write grab in blank 4. And you're writing straight down that first column just like on my document. Do not worry about the second 2 columns yet. We'll get to them after. So straight down. Word 5, patch. Type patch. Word 6, plan. Type the word plan. Stretch. The 7th word is stretch. Finish. Type finish in the 8th blank on that first column. Finish. Discuss. Type the word discuss. And then our final root word, submit. Type the word submit in the 10th blank on the first column. So now we're going to practice adding suffixes to each word. A suffix changes the meaning slightly of our word. In this case, since our word is a verb, what does adding ed to the verb signal? For example, if I said not hop, but hopped, that would mean it's in the past tense. It already happened. If I add the suffix ing, hopping, that means it's currently happening. So today's words, when we add the suffix ed or ing, if we add ed, we are changing the word to past tense. If we add ing, we are making it present tense. So we're going to go through all of our words one more time and rewrite them in the past tense and the present tense. Pay careful attention to spelling because there are going to be some differences in between how we add those suffixes on. So our first word becomes hopped and hopping. So type hopped and hopping. You'll notice we had to add a P onto the word hop when we added our suffix. When we have CVC words or consonant vowel consonant words, so H is a consonant, O is a vowel, P is a consonant, the final consonant has to be doubled before we add our suffix. So the final consonant in this case is P. So we had to double P before we could add ED and ING. Let's go on to our next word. This is the same situation. So rub becomes rubbed. And since it's a CVC word, we have to double the last consonant, which is B. So we type RUBBED. And then for rubbing, RUBBING. Type that on your document. Our next word was ship. It becomes shipped. We double the last consonant, 2 P's in ship. And then shipping, we double the P's again because it ends in a consonant. So we have to double it. Type shipped and shipping in your document. Our next word, grab. We're going to type grabbed, past tense, and grabbing, present tense. Again, we're doubling the last consonant, B. So type 2 B's in each word. Our next word, patch. This is a little bit different. So in this case, the word patch ends in 2 consonants, C and H. When a word already ends with 2 consonants, the suffixes ed and ing are simply added. There's no need to double the end consonants because the consonants are already doubled. So in this case, we would just write ed on the end of the word and ing on the end of the word. No double letters. There's already 2. So type patched and patching. Our next word, plan. We go back to doubling the letters because there's only 1 consonant at the end of plan, just the N. So we need to double it. So when we type planned, we type PLANNED. When we type planning, we type PLANNING. Planning. That's the present tense. And now we have another word that's an exception, stretch. So there are already 2 consonants on the end of stretch, CH. So we're not going to double any letters. We simply add the suffix ed and ing. So type stretched and stretching on your document. Stretched and stretching. Our next word is finish. And does this have 1 or 2 consonants at the end? It has 2, S and H. So we don't double the letter. We just type ed at the end of the word and ing at the end. So finished, finishing. Our next word is discuss. And this also has 2 consonants. We already have a double S, so we don't need to double it. Discussed and discussing. Type these on your document. And then our last word today is submit. This only has one consonant at the end, so we need to double the T. Submitted, you already submitted it. Submitting, you're in the process of submitting it. Type submitted and submitting. I hope by tomorrow you all will have submitted your assignment. Past tense would mean you have already done it. Right now, we're still in the process of submitting our document because we aren't done. All right, and these last two words are not on your slide. They are our challenge words. So I would challenge you to write these down in a notebook somewhere. Our challenge words each week may not necessarily follow the same spelling pattern. They are words that are used often and they need to be memorized. So our first challenge word is give. You'll notice the past tense of give would not be gived. That doesn't sound right. Instead, we would say gave. So in this case, we don't add the ed, we change the I to an A, and it is gave. But the present tense, we do add an ing, but we omit the E at the end. We wouldn't want the two vowels side by side in this case. It is just G-I-V-I-N-G, giving. And then our second challenge word is live. The past tense of live is lived. And you'll notice that live already ends in an E, so we are not going to add another E. We just add the D at the end. Lived. Same case as giving. For living, we're not going to keep the E. We omit it. We get rid of it. And we just add ing. Living. These will be your challenge words on Friday. Keep these in mind when you have your future spelling practice this week. And that's it. Don't forget to turn this in when you are done. I would see the entire table complete just like it looked like on my slide. So type the spelling words and the suffixes. So each form of the verb. And that's it for today. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out and make sure that you are practicing those spelling words this week. There's not going to be a place for you to type them out and practice them on Google Classroom. This is something that you need to be practicing on your own. Every day I will include the spelling list in the Google Classroom post. So when you see that on your post, take a moment and write the words down just in your notebook. So take a moment and write down all 12 words in your notebook. That way you can commit the spelling to memory. All right, have a great rest of your Monday.